The darkness of space stretched around the Earth Orbital Command Station like an endless sea. Through the reinforced observation deck, Captain Lara Nguyen watched her homeworld, below a vibrant blue sphere, swirled with white clouds, and the rich greens and browns of its landmasses. Many species across the galaxy found Earth intimidating, frightening even. With its crushing gravitational pull, extreme weather patterns, and abundantly diverse microbial life, it had earned its classification as a Class 4 death world. Few non-humans ever visited, and those who did typically remained in the orbiting diplomatic stations, their bodies unable to withstand what humans had evolved to consider normal. Lara brushed a strand of dark hair from her face as she turned away from the viewport, her expression serious. At 38, she carried herself with the quiet confidence of someone who had risen through the ranks of Earth Space Command on merit rather than political connections. Her features reflected her Vietnamese heritage, though like many in the 22nd century, her ancestry was a blend of cultures that had once been geographically distinct. "Captain Nguyen," the station AI announced. "Admiral Hassan requests your presence in the Strategic Command Center immediately." Lara acknowledged the message with a nod, straightening her dark blue uniform before heading toward the central lift. As the doors closed behind her, she wondered what urgency had prompted this summons. Her ship, the UES Vanguard, was still undergoing its final maintenance checks in the orbital dockyard. They weren't scheduled to depart for another 3 standard days. The Strategic Command Center hummed with activity when she arrived. Officers moved purposefully between stations, their faces illuminated by the glow of tactical displays. At the center of the room, beneath the holographic projection of the Milky Way galaxy, stood Admiral Hassan, his weathered face grave, as he conversed with what appeared to be representatives of the Galactic Council, the governing body that had reluctantly accepted humanity into its ranks only 27 years earlier. "Captain Nguyen," Hassan called, gesturing her forward. "Join us." As Lara approached, she recognized the Council's tall, willowy forms. Their silvery skin caught the light of the holographic displays, creating an almost ethereal appearance that belied their typically conservative and often condescending attitudes toward humanity. "Captain," the tallest of the Council representatives, said, dipping their elongated head slightly in acknowledgement. "I am Arbiter Theron. The Council has intercepted a distress signal that we believe warrants immediate attention." The holographic display shifted, zooming in on a distant arm of the galaxy, the Orion Spur, where humanity's solar system sat on the outer edge. 17 hours ago, our monitoring stations detected this, Hassan explained. A distorted audio transmission filled the room, crackling with interference. "This is Commander Zill of Vexus. Our world is dying. The Crawl have blockaded our system. There." The message devolved into static before continuing, "Mining operations on our surface. Help us. Our world is dying." Lara frowned. "Vexus, I'm not familiar with that system." "Few are, Arbiter," Theron replied. "It is a Class 5 death world in the Orion Cygnus arm, approximately 42 light-years from Earth. Its inhabitants developed spacefaring technology only recently, and they have kept largely to themselves." "And the Crawl?" Lara asked, though she already knew the answer. Admiral Hassan's expression darkened. "An expansionist empire from the Perseus arm. Technologically advanced, highly militaristic. They've been pushing their boundaries for the last century, but this is the first time they've ventured this close to Council or human space." "What interest would they have in a death world?" Lara asked. Theron's large, pupil-less eyes blinked slowly. "That is what concerns the Council. Vexus is known to contain unusual mineral compositions in its crust, including what the locals call living metal, a substance that appears to have quasi-organic properties. We have limited research on it, but what we do know suggests it could be weaponized." "And you believe the Crawl want this living metal for weapons development?" Lara stated. It wasn't a question. "Yes," Theron confirmed. "The Council has voted to send aid to Vexus." Lara noted the emphasis on the word aid and the way Hassan's jaw tightened, almost imperceptibly. Something wasn't being said. "The Vanguard is being reassigned," Hassan said. "You'll depart within 12 hours with supplies and medical personnel for Vexus." "With respect, Admiral, the Vanguard is a Phantom-class vessel, a stealth warship, not a relief vessel." "The Council believes," Theron interjected smoothly, "that given the Krall's blockade, a standard relief ship would be detected and intercepted. The Vanguard's stealth capabilities offer the best chance of reaching Vexus undetected." Lara looked between the Admiral and the Arbiter, sensing the unspoken subtext in their exchange. This wasn't simply a humanitarian mission. The Council was using the crisis to send a military response while maintaining the appearance of offering aid. But why involve humans, specifically? As if reading her thoughts, Theron continued. "Additionally, as fellow Deathworlders, your crew will be better equipped to handle Vexus's extreme conditions than most Council species." "I see," Lara said, her voice neutral despite her suspicions. "And our primary objective?" Admiral Hassan handed her a secure data tablet. "Officially, to provide humanitarian aid to Vexus and assess the Krall threat. Your complete mission parameters are detailed here, including certain strategic directives that are classified beyond this room." Lara accepted the tablet, the weight of it seemingly heavier than its physical mass. "I understand, Admiral." "Captain Nguyen," Arbiter Theron said, their voice carrying the formal tone of a council decree. "Humanity has often claimed that your species' evolution on a death world has uniquely prepared you for adversity. The Council is now counting on that claim being true." After the briefing, Lara retreated to a quiet corner of the station to review her mission parameters in private. The secure tablet screen illuminated her face as she scrolled through the information, her expression growing increasingly troubled. The Vanguard wasn't just bringing medical supplies and food rations to Vexus. Hidden among the humanitarian cargo would be prototype weapon systems designed specifically to combat Krall technology, including a new shield-penetrating missile system that Earth Space Command had been developing in secret. The Vexus crisis offered the perfect opportunity to field test these weapons against actual Krall vessels, while maintaining plausible deniability. In essence, Lara wasn't being sent to save Vexus, she was being sent to start a war. She closed the tablet and leaned back, closing her eyes briefly. The Council had agreed to this plan not out of concern for Vexus, but to use humanity as their proxy in a conflict they were unwilling to enter directly. If the mission failed, they could disavow knowledge of the military aspect. If it succeeded, they would claim it was a necessary defensive action. And Earth's leadership had agreed, seeing an opportunity to demonstrate humanity's worth to the galactic community, while simultaneously testing their newest weapons against a potential future threat. Lara understood the strategic thinking, even respected the ruthless efficiency of it. But she couldn't help feeling that they were gambling with the lives of the Vexus people. Her fingers tapped against the tablet as she considered her options. In the end, there was only one real choice: complete the mission to the best of her ability, and try to protect as many lives as possible in the process. With that resolve, she opened a secure channel to her executive officer. "Marco," she said when Lieutenant Marco Silva's face appeared on the screen. "We've been reassigned. Prepare the crew for immediate departure. I need all department heads in the briefing room in 2 hours." Silva's rugged features betrayed his surprise, but he simply nodded. "Understood, Captain. Should I recall shore leave personnel?" "Yes, priority Alpha. And Marco, this is going to be a complicated one." The lieutenant's eyes narrowed slightly, recognizing her tone. "I'll make sure we're ready, Captain. Whatever complicated means this time." "I'll explain everything soon. Nguyen out." As the connection ended, Lara called up the crew manifest on her tablet. If they were heading to a Class 5 death world to face off against the Krall, she would need specialists who could handle extreme conditions. Fortunately, the Vanguard had been staffed with that possibility. In mind, most of her crew came from Earth's most inhospitable regions, or had experience in extreme environment operations. There was, however, one expertise they lacked: knowledge of the living metal mentioned in the briefing. Lara quickly searched through Earth Space Command's personnel database, looking for scientists with relevant experience. One name stood out: Dr. Amina Zhao, a materials engineer who had published several papers on metallo-organic compounds with adaptive properties. According to her file, she was currently stationed at the Luna Research Facility. Lara authorized an immediate transfer request, marking it with her command override. Within moments, confirmation came through: Dr. Zhao would be on the next shuttle to the orbital station, scheduled to arrive in 4 hours. With her core team assembling, Lara turned her attention to the ship itself. The UES Vanguard was Earth's newest Phantom-class vessel, a sleek predator designed to slip undetected through enemy territory. Its revolutionary metamaterial hull could absorb or redirect most scanning technologies, effectively rendering it invisible to standard detection systems. Its weapons were equally advanced: focused plasma lances, kinetic impact rails, and a host of missile systems, including the new prototypes mentioned in her briefing. It wasn't a humanitarian vessel by any definition. But if they were to breach a crawl blockade, perhaps that was exactly what they needed. 6 hours later, Lara stood on the Vanguard's bridge, watching as the last of their supplies were loaded. The ship hummed with preparation, crew members moving with practiced efficiency despite the accelerated timeline. Lieutenant Silva approached, datapad in hand. "All departments report ready, Captain. Dr. Zhao has arrived and is setting up in Science Lab 2. Medical supplies and special cargo are secured in holds 3 through 5. And our cover story. Officially, we're delivering emergency supplies to Vexus while assessing the situation for further council action. The humanitarian supplies are genuine enough: medical equipment, food, concentrates, and water purification systems to support up to 20,000 individuals for 3 months. Lara nodded. At least that part of the mission wasn't a facade. And our crew, 342 personnel, including the additional medical team and Dr. Zhao's small research group. All have been briefed on the official mission parameters. But not the classified aspects, Lara clarified. No, Captain. Only you, myself, Security Chief Okonkwo, and Tactical Officer Patel have been cleared for the complete briefing. Good. Let's keep it that way until necessary. She turned to face the main view screen, which showed the Earth below them, beautiful and deadly in equal measure. Prepare for departure. I want us clear of orbital space before the Council representatives have a chance to add any last-minute suggestions to our mission. Aye, Captain. As Silva moved to relay her orders, Lara took her command chair, feeling the familiar contours adjust to her body. The bridge crew worked around her, their movements precise and synchronized like components of a well-oiled machine. Engineering reports: all systems nominal, the operations officer announced. Stealth systems standing by. Docking clamps released, another crew member reported. We are clear for maneuvering. Lara leaned forward slightly. Helm, take us out 1/4 impulse until we clear the orbital lanes, then prepare for FTL transition. Aye, Captain, 1/4 impulse. The Vanguard slipped away from Earth Orbital Command Station with graceful efficiency, its dark hull quickly becoming invisible against the backdrop of space. Within minutes, they had cleared the busy orbital lanes around Earth. Preparing for FTL transition, the Helm officer reported. Coordinates for the Vexus system locked in. Engage FTL drives, Lara ordered. Let's find out what's happening on Vexus. The stars on the view screen elongated into streaks of light as the Vanguard leapt forward, leaving the relative safety of Earth behind as it raced toward a distant Deathworld and the conflict awaiting them there. The journey to Vexus would take 7 days at maximum sustainable FTL speed. During that time, Lara had her crew prepare rigorously for what they might face upon arrival. The limited data they had on Vexus painted a challenging picture: a planet with 1.2 Earth gravity, a toxic atmosphere rich in sulfur compounds, frequent acid rain, and seismic instability. Surface temperatures ranged from freezing at the poles to over 50 degrees Celsius at the equator. No wonder it had earned its Class 5 Deathworld status. On the third day of their journey, Lara called a meeting with her senior staff and Dr. Zhao in the ship's conference room. The holographic display at the center of the table showed a rotating image of Vexus based on the limited scans available in Council archives. As you can see, Lara said, gesturing to the planet's image, Vexus isn't exactly a vacation destination. The indigenous population has adapted to the harsh conditions over millions of years primarily by moving most of their civilization underground, where they're protected from the worst surface conditions. "What do we know about the locals?" asked Security Chief Okonkwo, her dark eyes focused on the display. "Humanoid in basic structure, but with significant adaptations to their environment," Lieutenant Silva replied. "Denser bone structure to support the higher gravity specialized respiratory systems to filter the toxic atmosphere, and thicker skin resistant to the acidic precipitation. According to Council records, they're technologically advanced but isolated, having achieved spacefaring capability only about 60 years ago." Dr. Zhao, a woman in her mid-40s with short cropped black hair and intense eyes, leaned forward. "And this living metal the Crawl are supposedly, after what data do we have on it?" Lara nodded to the science officer, who adjusted the display to show molecular structures. "Limited information. The Council calls it ferrovitae, a metallic substance with quasi-organic properties. It appears to have adaptive capabilities, changing its molecular structure in response to environmental stimuli." "Like a metallic immune system," Dr. Zhao murmured, studying the display with evident fascination. "Incredible. If this substance could be integrated into our technology—" "That's exactly what we're concerned the Crawl intend to do," Lara interrupted. "Particularly with weapons technology. Which brings us to the classified portion of our mission." She activated the privacy protocols, causing a subtle shift in the room's ambient lighting to indicate that all recording devices were disabled and additional encryption was active. "Beyond our humanitarian mission, we've been authorized to test the new Phantom missile system against Crawl vessels if the opportunity arises. These missiles are designed to penetrate Crawl shield technology by emitting a phase-shifted EM pulse that temporarily creates a hole in their defensive fields." Tactical Officer Patel, a compact man with a precisely trimmed beard, nodded in approval. "I've reviewed the specifications. If they perform as designed, they could give us a significant advantage in future engagements." "And if they don't?" Okonkwo asked bluntly. "Then we rely on conventional weapons and our stealth capabilities," Lara replied. "Either way, our primary goal remains to provide aid to Vexus and assess the Crawl presence." Dr. Zhao's expression had grown thoughtful. "Captain, if I could have access to more detailed scans of the ferrovitae once we reach Vexus, I might be able to determine its potential applications and perhaps how the Crawl intend to use it." "Granted, but your research must not interfere with your primary duty of helping the Vexus people deal with the environmental crisis mentioned in their distress call." "Of course, Captain." Lara closed the briefing by assigning final preparation tasks to each department. As the senior staff filed out, she remained behind with Lieutenant Silva. "You're troubled," he observed, once they were alone, his tone shifting from formal to the more casual manner of longtime colleagues. Lara sighed, running a hand through her hair. "We're walking into a complex situation with limited information, Marco. The Council is using us as their proxy in a conflict they don't want to enter directly, and Earth Command is willing to play along because it gives us a chance to test new weapons technology." "And somewhere in the middle are the people of Vexus, caught between powers they didn't ask to be involved with," Silva finished. "Not so different from humanity's position when we first encountered the Council." "Exactly." Lara stood and moved to the viewport, watching the streaking stars as the Vanguard hurtled through space. "The Council sees us as useful barbarians too dangerous to ignore, but too valuable to discard, especially when they need someone to do their dirty work. So we complete the mission but do it our way," Silva suggested. "We provide genuine help to Vexus assess the Crawl threat accurately, And if we happen to test our new weapons in the process, so be it. A small smile touched Lara's lips. You always did have a way of simplifying complex problems, Marco. One of us has to, he replied with a shrug. You overthink. I oversimplify. Between the two of us, we occasionally hit the mark. Let's hope we do this time. There's a lot at stake. The remaining days of their journey passed quickly, filled with preparations, simulations, and equipment checks. The crew, drawn primarily from Earth's most extreme environments, demonstrated their adaptability in training exercises designed to mimic Vex's conditions. Individuals from the high-gravity regions of Earth adjusted easily to simulations of Vexus's heavier gravitational pull, while those from volcanic or industrial zones showed remarkable resilience to the simulated toxic atmosphere. As they approached the Vexus system, Lara ordered the ship to drop out of FTL at the system's edge, beyond the likely range of crawl detection systems. The Vanguard's stealth systems engaged automatically as they transitioned to sublight speeds, its hull material shifting to absorb and redirect electromagnetic radiation. Full, passive scans, Lara ordered as the main view screen showed the distant star of the Vexus system. Let's see what we're dealing with before we announce ourselves. The bridge crew worked silently, gathering data, without emitting detectable signals that might give away their position. Multiple ships detected in orbit around the fourth planet Vexus, the sensor officer reported after several tense minutes. Configuration matches known crawl vessel designs. I count 7 warships, including what appears to be a Dreadnought-class vessel. Lara frowned. A Dreadnought was the Crawl's largest warship class, typically serving as a command vessel for significant military operations. Its presence suggested this was more than a simple mining expedition. Any sign of Vexus defense forces? Yes, Captain. Several smaller vessels maintaining orbit on the far side of the planet, likely hiding from the Crawl fleet. They appear to be defensive in nature rather than offensive. And the planet itself? The science officer's voice was grim as he reported, significant environmental disturbances detected. Massive energy signatures consistent with mining operations on the northern continent. Atmospheric toxicity levels are elevated even beyond Vexus's normal parameters. There's also evidence of recent weapons discharge. The Crawl have been testing something on the surface. Lara exchanged a glance with Silva. They're not just mining the living metal. They're conducting weapons tests using it. It would appear so, Captain. She straightened in her command chair. Maintain stealth protocols. Plot a course that will take us to Vexus, while avoiding the Crawl patrol routes. I want us in geosynchronous orbit above the southern continent, where Crawl activity seems minimal. Aye, Captain. Course plotted. Lieutenant Silva, assemble a landing team. Environmental suits with full hazard protocols. I want Dr. Zhao included. Her expertise on the living metal may prove crucial. And you, Captain, Silva asked, already knowing the answer. I'll be leading the team myself. The people of Vexus deserve to meet the commander of the ship sent to help them. Her eyes remained fixed on the view screen, where the distant form of Vexus hung like a mottled green-brown jewel against the blackness of space. We'll use a stealth shuttle to avoid detection. Departure in 3 hours. The Vanguard slipped through space like a shark through dark waters, its presence undetected by the Crawl vessels as it made its way to Vexus. The ship's advanced propulsion systems had been modified to minimize thermal signatures, allowing it to move without leaving the telltale heat trails that might betray its position. In the shuttle bay, Lara inspected her environmental suit one final time before joining the landing team. The specialized gear had been designed for extreme environments, incorporating the latest in human protective technology. Unlike the bulky suits used by many council species, these were relatively sleek, using flexible carbon fiber weave and advanced filtration systems rather than rigid exoskeletons. All systems check out, the technician confirmed, stepping back after completing his inspection. The suit should handle Vexus conditions for up to 72 hours without resupply. Let's hope we don't need that long, Lara replied, securing her helmet. The landing team consisted of 8 members: Lara, Lieutenant Silva, Dr. Zhao, 2 security officers, a communications specialist, a medical officer, and an environmental systems expert. Each carried equipment related to their specialty, in addition to standard survival gear. "Remember," Lara addressed the team as they boarded the stealth shuttle, "our primary mission is to establish contact with the Vexus leadership and assess their situation. We're offering humanitarian aid, not military intervention unless absolutely necessary. The crawl must not detect our presence until we've had a chance to understand the full situation." The shuttle detached from the Vanguard with minimal thrust, gliding away from the ship before engaging its own stealth systems. As they descended toward Vexus, the viewport revealed a world in turmoil. Massive storm systems swept across the planet's surface, carrying acid rain and sulfuric clouds. The northern continent showed scars of extensive mining operations, vast pits, and excavations visible even from orbit. "Those aren't normal mining patterns," Dr. Zhao observed, studying the scans. "They're following geological fault lines where the ferrovite concentrations are highest. Extremely efficient but also extremely dangerous, given the planet's seismic instability. They're risking planetary-scale earthquakes." The environmental specialist added, his expression grim behind his helmet visor. "If they trigger a cascade failure along those fault lines, they could render the entire planet uninhabitable," Lara finished, "even by Vexus standards." As the shuttle entered, the atmosphere, turbulence shook the small craft violently. The pilot compensated with practiced skill, but the journey remained rough as they descended through layers of toxic clouds. Lightning flashed around them, the electrical discharges far more powerful than those on Earth. Detecting a settlement below ground, the communications specialist reported. "Extensive tunnel network approximately 2 kilometers beneath the surface. There's an access point hidden within that mountain range ahead." "That's our destination," Lara confirmed. "Any signs we've been detected?" "Negative, Captain. Our stealth systems are holding." The shuttle approached the mountainside sensors, revealing a concealed hangar built into the rock face. As they drew closer, a narrow opening appeared, barely wide enough for their craft to enter. "They're expecting us," Silva observed. "That door wasn't visible until just now." "Let's not disappoint them," Lara replied. "Take us in." The shuttle slipped into the narrow opening, which sealed behind them immediately. They found themselves in a pressurized hangar carved from the living rock, illuminated by strips of bioluminescent material along the walls. Several Vexus inhabitants waited nearby, their forms tall and slender, but clearly built for the higher gravity of their world. Their skin had a grayish-blue tint, and their large eyes reflected the light with an inner luminescence. "Atmosphere readings show high toxicity," the environmental specialist reported. "Suits remain sealed until we confirm a safe zone." Lara nodded and led the way as the shuttle's hatch opened. The landing team descended the ramp in formation, with Lara at the front and the security officers flanking the group. They stopped several meters from the waiting Vexus delegation. One of the Vexus stepped forward, distinguishable from the others by elaborate markings on their environmental suit. When they spoke, their voice came through the team's communication systems, translated in real time by their advanced linguistic software. "I am Commander Zil of Vexus. You have received our distress call." "Captain Lauren Nguyen of the United Earthship Vanguard," Lara responded, inclining her head in respect. "We've come to offer assistance and assess the crawl threat to your world." Zil's large eyes studied her for a moment before they responded. "Humans. The Council sent Deathworlders to help Deathworlders. There is logic in this choice, though I suspect not entirely humanitarian logic." The perceptiveness of the observation caught Lara slightly off guard, but she maintained her composure. "Our ship carries medical supplies, food-water purification systems, and environmental stabilization equipment. We're prepared to help your people deal with the damage the crawl have caused." "And to deal with the crawl themselves?" Zil asked pointedly. "That depends on what we learn here," Lara replied honestly. "Our primary mission is humanitarian, but we're equipped to defend ourselves and your people if necessary." Zil seemed to consider this before gesturing toward a large doorway, leading deeper into the mountain. Come. The inner chambers are free of atmospheric toxins. You can remove your suits there, and we will speak of what the Crawl seek, and why your council has suddenly taken an interest in our plight." As they followed Zill through the carved stone passages, Lara noted the sophisticated technology integrated seamlessly with the natural rock. Conduits of the living metal ran along the walls like veins pulsing with a subtle inner light. Sensors embedded in the stone tracked their movement, and security checkpoints were disguised as natural formations. After passing through a series of airlocks, they entered a vast chamber where the air was indeed cleaner filtered of the toxic elements that made the surface so deadly. After confirming the readings, Lara gave the order for the team to remove their helmets. The chamber they stood in appeared to be a command center of sorts with holographic displays showing various parts of the planet and the Crawl vessels in orbit. Dozens of Vexus worked at stations, monitoring everything from environmental conditions to defense systems. "Your arrival was not detected," Zill noted with approval, as they led the humans to a central conference area. "Your stealth technology is impressive, as is your ability to survive on this world," Lara responded. "Even by Earth standards, Vexus presents extraordinary challenges. Yet you adapted to meet those challenges for this mission," Zill observed. "Just as we have adapted over millennia. Perhaps we are not so different, humans and Vexus." Once seated around a table formed from the same living rock as the walls, Zill's demeanor became more serious. "The Crawl arrived 3 months ago. At first, they claimed to be conducting scientific research authorized by the Galactic Council. We were skeptical but lacked the military strength to challenge them directly." "The Council gave no such authorization," Lara confirmed. "So we discovered too late. By then the Crawl had established mining operations on our northern continent, extracting what you call ferrovitae, what we know as the living blood of our world." Dr. Zhao leaned forward. "The living metal is truly connected to your planet's ecosystem." Zill turned their luminescent eyes to her. "It is more than connected, Doctor. It is integral. The ferrovitae regulates our planet's magnetic field, which shields us from our star's radiation. It helps stabilize the tectonic plates despite their natural volatility. It purifies groundwater and maintains the delicate balance that allows life to exist on Vexus at all. And the Crawl are extracting it without regard for these functions," Lara stated. "Worse," Zill replied grimly. "They are testing weapons infused with ferrovitae on our surface. Weapons that draw power from the living metal's adaptive properties. Each test further destabilizes our world." They gestured to a holographic display showing seismic readings. "Our scientists predict that if the extraction and testing continue at the current rate, Vexus will experience catastrophic tectonic failure within 60 days. The implications hung heavy in the air. Catastrophic tectonic failure would mean the death of a planet and its people. "What do the Crawl want with the ferrovitae?" Lieutenant Silva asked. "Beyond weapons application." Zill's expression was difficult to read, but their voice carried a note of bitter understanding. "Control. The Crawl believe that those who control the most advanced technology control the galaxy. Their empire has expanded through technological superiority and the fear it inspires. Ferrovitae-enhanced weapons and shields would give them an advantage the Council could not match. Unless someone demonstrated a counter to such technology first," Lara said carefully. Zill's eyes fixed on her with new intensity. "Now, we come to the truth of your mission, Captain Nguyen. The Council did not send you merely to deliver supplies, did they?" Lara made a decision, then one not explicitly covered in her orders, but one she felt was necessary given the stakes. "No. We carry humanitarian aid, but the Vanguard is a warship, not a relief vessel. We've been equipped with prototype weapons designed to counter Crawl defense systems. And the Council wants to test these weapons against the Crawl here, where they can maintain plausible deniability if things go wrong," Zill concluded. There was no accusation in their tone, merely a pragmatic assessment. "That's part of it," Lara acknowledged. "But Earth has its own concerns about Crawl expansion. If they're developing weapons using this living metal, The threat extends beyond Vexus. So we have mutual interests, Zil said. You wish to test your weapons. We wish to save our world from destruction. Perhaps there is a path forward that serves both purposes. Lara studied the Vexus commander thoughtfully. What are you proposing? An alliance, Zil replied simply. We have detailed knowledge of crawl ship positions and patrol patterns. We have been monitoring their communications and have identified vulnerabilities in their blockade. What we lack is the military strength to challenge them directly. And you believe the Vanguard provides that strength? I believe that your ship operating in concert with our remaining defense vessels could break the crawl blockade and force them to withdraw, especially if your weapons are as effective as you hope. Lara exchanged glances with Silva and Dr. Zhao. This was moving beyond their mission parameters, but the opportunity to form a direct alliance with Vexus, rather than working through Council protocols, was tempting. It would give humanity a foothold in this region of space and a potential ally against future crawl expansion. Before I agree to any military action, I need to understand more about the Ferrovitae and the exact nature of the weapons the crawl are developing, Lara said. Dr. Zhao is our expert in advanced materials. With your permission, she could work with your scientists to assess the situation. Agreed, Zil said without hesitation. And while your doctor conducts her research, we can develop a joint strategy against the crawl. They turned to a nearby aide. Prepare the secure laboratory for our guests and inform the Defense Council of this development. As the aide hurried away, Sil fixed Lara with a penetrating gaze. Captain Nguyen, I sense you are a person who values honesty, so let me be direct. My people were initially wary of accepting help from the Council after they ignored our previous requests for protection against crawl incursions. But perhaps it is fitting that they sent humans, another species whose world would be considered hostile by most galactic standards, another people who had to fight to be taken seriously by the Council. The parallels hadn't escaped me, Lara admitted. Then understand this. We will work with you to drive the crawl from our system, but we will not become pawns in a larger galactic power struggle. Our world may be dying, but our sovereignty is not negotiable. Lara found herself respecting the commander's forthrightness. Fair enough. We'll help you save your world, Commander Zil. What happens afterward will be for our peoples to decide together without Council interference. A subtle change came over Zil's features, the equivalent of a smile, Lara guessed. Then, let us begin. Time is scarce and the living blood of our world grows weaker with each passing day. Over the next 48 hours, the human team worked closely with their Vexus counterparts. Dr. Zhao and her research group were granted access to the Vexus laboratories, where they studied samples of the Ferrovitae and the data collected on crawl weapons testing. It's remarkable, Zhao reported during a briefing in Lara's temporary quarters within the Vexus facility. The living metal doesn't just adapt to stimuli, it remembers and learns. Each exposure to an energy type or physical stress makes it more resistant to similar challenges in the future. Like an immune response, Lara observed. Exactly, but on a molecular level. The crawl are harvesting it and forcing it to adapt to specific weapons frequencies, effectively creating shields and armor that grow stronger with each attack. Lieutenant Silva frowned. That could make their defense systems nearly impenetrable over time. Yes, but there's something else. Zhao continued, her expression animated with scientific excitement. The Ferrovitae appears to form connections with the systems it's integrated into, almost like it's developing a relationship with its user. The Vexus scientists believe it actually responds differently, depending on the intentions of those utilizing it. You're suggesting the metal has some form of consciousness? Lara asked skeptically. Not consciousness as we understand it, Zhao clarified, but a form of reactive intelligence. The Vexus have been able to work with it harmoniously for centuries because their approach is cooperative rather than exploitative. The crawl's forceful extraction and weapons testing are essentially traumatizing the Ferrovitae, making it unstable and potentially less effective for their purposes in the long run. Lara considered the implications. Could this instability be used against them? Potentially, Zhao confirmed. If we could deliver a specific electromagnetic pulse to Faraviti-enhanced crawl shields, it might disrupt the molecular bonds the crawl have forced upon it. Our phantom missiles might be modified to deliver such a pulse. How quickly can you make these modifications? With help from the Vexus scientists within 24 hours. Do it, Lara ordered. Meanwhile, I'll work with Commander Zill to develop our assault strategy. The plan that emerged from their joint strategy sessions was bold, perhaps even reckless, but it played to the strengths of both the Vanguard and the remaining Vexus defense forces. The Vanguard would remain in stealth mode until the critical moment, positioning itself opposite the Crawl dreadnought. The Vexus vessels, which had been hiding on the far side of the planet, would launch a coordinated attack on the smaller Crawl warships, creating the appearance of a desperate last stand. When the Crawl committed their forces to counter this attack, the Vanguard would reveal itself and target the dreadnought with the modified Phantom missiles, theoretically disrupting its Faraviti-enhanced shields. If successful, this would leave the Crawl command vessel vulnerable to conventional weapons. It's a high-risk strategy, Silva observed during the final planning session. But with potentially high rewards, Sil countered. If we can demonstrate that Faraviti-enhanced technology can be countered, the Crawl lose their incentive to continue mining operations on Vexus. And if we fail, Lara asked, her eyes on the tactical display, showing the positions of the Crawl fleet. Then my people face extinction either way, Zill replied solemnly. But we would rather die fighting than watch our world be bled dry by the Crawl. The gravity of the situation settled over the room. This wasn't just about testing weapons or establishing human presence in this region of space anymore. It was about the survival of an entire civilization, one that, despite evolving on a different world, shared humanity's resilience and determination to survive against overwhelming odds. We'll need to coordinate our timing precisely, Lara said, refocusing on the tactical display. The Vanguard will need 8 hours to move into position without being detected. Once there, we'll await your signal before revealing ourselves. Our vessels will be ready, Zill assured her. They may be outmatched by Crawl technology, but my people are fighting for their home. That provides motivation no invader can match. Then it's settled, Lara concluded. We launch the operation in 10 hours. As the meeting dispersed, Commander Zill asked Lara to remain behind. Once they were alone, the Vexus leader activated a privacy field around them, a shimmering curtain of energy that would prevent eavesdropping. There is something more you should know, Captain. Zill said, their voice lower than before. Something few outside our highest scientific council are aware of. Lara's interest was immediately piqued. I'm listening. The Faraviti is not merely important to our planet's environmental stability. It is also connected to our people on a biological level. Zill held out their arm, and to Lara's surprise, rolled back their sleeve to reveal veins beneath their skin that pulsed with the same subtle glow as the living metal conduits in the walls. Your people have Faraviti in your bodies, Lara realized, unable to hide her astonishment. We evolved with it, Zill explained. Over millions of years, our ancestors developed a symbiotic relationship with the living metal. It helps us process our world's toxic atmosphere, strengthens our bodies against the high gravity, and extends our lifespans far beyond what would otherwise be possible. And if the Crawl deplete the planet's supply? It would not just destroy our world's environmental balance, Jill confirmed. It would eventually kill us on a cellular level. Our children are already being born with lower Faraviti concentrations than any previous generation. Within 3 generations, if this continues, our species will no longer be viable. The revelation added a new dimension to the crisis, one that made the upcoming battle even more crucial. Why tell me this now? Lara asked. Because I want you to understand what is truly at stake, Zill replied, their luminescent eyes holding Lara's gaze steadily. And because I believe there may be potential for a deeper alliance between our peoples in the future. Humans adapt to extreme conditions through technology and innovation. We adapt through our connection to the living metal. Together, we might represent a new path forward in this region of space, one neither the Council nor the Crawl anticipate. The implications were significant. An alliance between humanity and the Vexus people could change the power dynamics of the entire sector, creating a partnership of Deathworlders that other species would have to take seriously. "Let's focus on surviving the next 24 hours, Lara said pragmatically. "Then we can discuss the future of our peoples." Shill inclined their head in agreement. "Wisdom in all things, Captain Nguyen. We will speak of this again after victory." 8 hours later, the Vanguard had maneuvered to its designated position on the far side of Vexus from the main Crawl fleet, its stealth systems keeping it hidden from enemy sensors. On the bridge, Lara and her crew monitored the Crawl vessels as they maintained their blockade pattern, seemingly unaware of the threat preparing to confront them. Final checks on the modified Phantom missiles. Lara ordered, her voice calm despite the tension filling the bridge. "Modifications complete and verified," the weapons officer reported. "Dr. Zhao's EM pulse sequence has been programmed into all 6 missiles. They're loaded and ready for deployment. Engineering reports all systems at optimal efficiency," Lieutenant Silva added from his station. "Stealth systems are functioning perfectly. The Crawl have given no indication they've detected our presence." Lara nodded, her gaze fixed on the tactical display, where the positions of all vessels were tracked in real time. The Vexus Defense Fleet, 5 smaller warships that had been hiding in the electromagnetic shadow of the planet's largest moon, was now moving into their initial positions. "Open a secure channel to Commander Zill," she ordered. The communications officer worked briefly at her console. "Channel open, Captain." "Commander Zill, this is Captain Nguyen. The Vanguard is in position and ready. All systems are go on our end." Zill's voice came through clearly, despite the encryption protocols protecting their communication. "Acknowledged, Captain. Our vessels are prepared to engage. We have detected increased activity around the Crawl mining sites. They appear to be accelerating their extraction efforts." "Then we have no time to waste," Lara replied. "Proceed with the operation on your mark." "Understood. Commencing attack pattern in 3 minutes. May your aim be true, Captain." "And yours, Commander." As the connection closed, Lara addressed her bridge crew. "Battle stations. Disengage stealth systems on my command only. Weapons prepare to target the Dreadnought's primary shield generators the moment our sensors confirm the Phantom missiles have created a vulnerability." Around her, the crew moved with focused efficiency, their training evident in every action. Many had served together for years, developing the kind of intuitive coordination that could make the difference between victory and defeat in the chaos of combat. "Vexus fleet is moving," the tactical officer announced. "They've begun their attack run." On the main view screen, the 5 Vexus vessels broke from their hiding position, accelerating toward the Crawl blockade with impressive speed. Their formation was tight, designed to concentrate their firepower against the smaller Crawl warships while avoiding the Dreadnought's heavy weapons. The Crawl response was immediate. Their patrol vessels reoriented to intercept the Vexus attack energy weapons charging as they moved to defensive positions. The massive Dreadnought, however, remained stationary, its enormous bulk turning ponderously to bring its main batteries to bear on the approaching threat. "The Crawl are responding exactly as predicted," Silva observed. "They're focusing on the visible threat while leaving their flank exposed to us." "Don't underestimate them," Lara cautioned. "The Crawl have a reputation for thorough tactical analysis. They may suspect a trap." The first exchange of fire between the Vexus and Crawl vessels illuminated the blackness of space energy beams and plasma torpedoes crossing the void between the opposing forces. The Vexus ships wove through the barrage with remarkable agility, their pilots demonstrating intimate knowledge of their vessel's capabilities. "Vexus attack is drawing Crawl attention," the tactical officer reported. 2 Crawl destroyers have broken formation to pursue. The Dreadnought is holding position, but has diverted power to forward shields. "Perfect," Lara murmured. "They're exposing their aft shield quadrant." She straightened in her command chair. "Helm adjust position by 20 degrees. Weapons lock Phantom missiles on the Dreadnought's aft shield generators." "Missiles locked, Captain." Vexus fleet has engaged the Krull destroyers, Silva reported. They're taking heavy fire but maintaining formation. Lara watched the battle unfold with focused intensity. The Vexus were fighting valiantly, but the technological superiority of the Krull vessels was evident. Already, one of the Vexus ships showed signs of significant damage, its energy signature fluctuating as it struggled to maintain shield integrity. The Dreadnought is powering its main weapon array, the sensor officer warned. Energy readings suggest they're preparing to fire on the Vexus fleet. They're going to try to end this quickly, Lara realized. It's now or never. Disengage stealth systems. Weapons fire phantom missiles full spread. The Vanguard shimmered into visibility as its stealth systems deactivated, revealing the sleek warship against the backdrop of stars. Before the Krull could register the new threat, 6 missiles launched from the Vanguard's forward tubes, accelerating rapidly toward the Dreadnought's exposed aft section. Missiles away, the weapons officer confirmed. Impact in 15 seconds. The Dreadnought is detecting our presence, the tactical officer reported. They're attempting to reorient defensive systems. Too late, Silva observed, as the tactical display tracked the missile's approach. The Phantom missiles struck the Dreadnought shields in perfect sequence, each one delivering its specialized electromagnetic pulse, calibrated to disrupt the Faravite-enhanced defensive field. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen then. Like ice cracking under pressure, visible fissures appeared in the energy barrier, protecting the Krull vessel. Shield disruption confirmed, the tactical officer announced, unable to keep the excitement from their voice. Phantom missiles successful. Dreadnought aft shields at 17% and failing. All weapons target exposed sections, Lara ordered. Fire at will. The Vanguard's main weapons arrays unleashed their full-power plasma lances and kinetic impact rails, sending destructive energy toward the vulnerable Krull command ship. The precision of the attack was devastating, each shot targeting critical systems identified from previous intelligence on Krull vessel design. Meanwhile, the Vexus fleet, seeing the Dreadnought's shields falter, executed a daring maneuver. 2 of their ships broke from the engagement with the Krull destroyers, looping back toward the Dreadnought to add their firepower to the Vanguard's assault. Krull vessels are reorienting, Silva reported. The destroyers are breaking off to protect the Dreadnought. Maintain fire on the Dreadnought, Lara commanded. We need to cripple their command capabilities before their defensive screen can reform. The bridge vibrated as the Vanguard absorbed return fire from the Krull fleet, its own shields flaring under the assault, but holding firm. The human vessel was smaller and more agile than the Krull ships, allowing it to maneuver, while maintaining its devastating attack on the Dreadnought's weakened defenses. Direct hit on the Dreadnought's propulsion systems, the tactical officer reported. They're losing maneuverability. Secondary explosions detected along their port quarter. The modified EM pulse is continuing to disrupt their shield regeneration, Silva added. They can't re-establish full defensive coverage. Lara nodded in grim satisfaction. Target their primary power core nexus. Let's make sure they understand the cost of continuing this fight. The Vanguard's weapons recalibrated, focusing their destructive energy on the central power distribution system of the Krull vessel. The impact was spectacular. A cascade of explosions rippled across the Dreadnought's surface as overloaded power conduits ruptured under the strain. Significant power fluctuations detected in the Dreadnought, the sensor officer reported. They're initiating emergency containment protocols. Captain, I think we've damaged their main reactor. Krull destroyers are breaking formation, Silva announced. They appear to be falling back to defensive positions around the Dreadnought. They're protecting their command ship, Lara observed. Cease fire on the Dreadnought. Shift targeting to the destroyer, attempting to flank our position. As the battle continued, a pattern emerged. The Krull vessels had lost their coordinated attack strategy and were now fighting defensively, focusing on protecting their damaged flagship, rather than pressing their advantage against the smaller Vexus fleet. It was a telling shift, suggesting the Dreadnought contained command staff too valuable to lose. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the Krull Dreadnought. the communications officer reported with surprise. "They're broadcasting on an open channel." "Put it through," Lara ordered. The main view screen shifted to show the interior of the Krull vessel's bridge. The Krull were an imposing species taller than humans, with exoskeletal features and compound eyes that gave them an insectoid appearance despite their fundamentally different biology. The one at the center of the screen wore elaborate armor that marked them as a high-ranking officer. "This is War Commander Vexcaral of the Krull Dominion." The figure stated their translated voice, carrying a mechanical edge. "You have engaged Krull forces in violation of territorial claims recognized by Dominion authority. This is Captain Lara Nguyen of the United Earthship Vanguard." Lara responded, her voice level. "The Krull Dominion has no legitimate claim to the Vexus system. Your mining operations and weapons testing are destroying a sovereign world and threatening the survival of its people." "The strong claim what the weak cannot defend," Vexcaral replied dismissively. "It is the way of the universe." "Then perhaps you should reevaluate your assessment of strength," Lara countered. "Your flagship is crippled, your shields compromised, and your weapons insufficient to prevent us from finishing what we've started. I suggest you withdraw your forces from this system immediately." The Krull commander's compound eyes seemed to glitter with a mixture of anger and calculation. "You represent Earth, yet you fight alongside Vexus. The Council's involvement is unexpected." "The Council isn't involved," Lara stated firmly. "This is a direct alliance between Earth and Vexus, between Deathworlders who understand what it means to fight for survival. Something your Dominion may soon learn firsthand if you continue your aggression in this region." There was a momentary pause as Vexcaral appeared to confer with other Krull officers off-screen. When they returned their attention to the transmission, their posture had subtly shifted. "The Dominion will withdraw to assess this development. But be warned, Captain Nguyen of Earth, this encounter has been noted. The Krull do not forget those who challenge their authority." "Neither do humans," Lara replied evenly. "Or the people of Vexus. Remember that when you consider your future actions in this sector." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the bridge of the Vanguard in momentary silence, before the tactical officer reported, "Krull vessels are powering up their FTL drives. Energy signatures suggest they're preparing to withdraw from the system." "Maintain combat readiness," Lara ordered. "I want weapons locked on the Dreadnought until they're clear of the system. This could be a tactical feint." The tension on the bridge remained high as they watched the Krull fleet regroup around their damaged flagship. True to their word, however, the alien vessels began to move away from Vexus, their engines flaring as they accelerated to escape velocity. "They're really leaving," Silva said, a note of disbelief in his voice. "For now," Lara cautioned. "The Krull don't abandon valuable resources easily. They'll be back, but hopefully not before reinforcements arrive from Earth." "Speaking of which," the communications officer interjected, "long-range sensors are detecting multiple FTL signatures approaching the system. Configuration matches Earth Space Command vessels." Lara allowed herself a small smile. "Right on time. Earth Command must have dispatched the promised support fleet as soon as we transmitted our initial findings about the Ferrovitae." "Captain, incoming transmission from Commander Zil," the communications officer reported. On screen, Zil appeared their normally composed features, animated with what Lara now recognized as the Vexus expression of triumph. Behind them, the command center of their underground facility was filled with celebrating Vexus. "Captain Nguyen," Zil greeted her. "Your ship fought with honor and devastating effectiveness. The Krull retreat before our combined strength. Vexus owes you and your crew a debt that cannot be easily repaid." "The Alliance fought well together," Lara acknowledged. "But this is only the beginning. The Krull will return better prepared next time." "And we will be better prepared to meet them," Zil responded confidently. "Already our scientists are studying the data from the battle, particularly how your modified weapons disrupted the Ferrovitae shields. With your permission, we would like to continue working with Dr. Zhao to develop this technology further." "I think that can be arranged," Lara said. Our reinforcement fleet will arrive within the hour. They carry additional supplies and defensive equipment to help stabilize your world while we establish a more formal alliance between our peoples. An alliance between Deathworlders. Zil mused the concept, clearly appealing to them. The Council may find such a development concerning. The Council will adapt, Lara replied with a slight smile. Or they'll discover that underestimating those who evolve in hostile environments is a significant tactical error. 6 hours later, Lara stood with Commander Zil on an observation platform carved into the side of a mountain, overlooking one of Vexus's vast toxic plains. Their environmental suits protected them from the caustic atmosphere as they watched Earth ships delivering equipment to help stabilize the damage caused by the crawl mining operations. The environmental recovery teams believe they can reverse the worst effects within 3 months. Lara explained, gesturing to where specialized machinery was already at work, neutralizing soil contamination. The seismic stabilizers should prevent any catastrophic tectonic events, while the Ferroviti reserves replenish naturally. And the defensive grid, Zil inquired. Being installed as we speak. A joint Earth-Vexus operation overseen by Lieutenant Silva and your defense chief. By the time it's complete, any crawl return will be met with a significantly more robust response than they encountered today. Zil turned to face Lara, the filtered sunlight reflecting off their environmental suit. You fought for us when the Council would only send observers. You risked your ship and crew against a superior force. These are not the actions of the selfish barbarians many Council species believe humans to be. Perhaps that's why we understand each other, Lara suggested. Both our peoples have been dismissed by those who consider themselves more civilized, more advanced. They fail to recognize that surviving on worlds like ours requires strength, innovation, and cooperation. Qualities that will serve us well in the alliance we have begun today, Zil agreed, extending their hand in the human gesture of partnership they had clearly studied. Lara took the offered hand, feeling the unusual strength in Zil's grip, a natural adaptation to Vexus's higher gravity. To cooperation between Deathworlders, she said. May it be the beginning of a new chapter for both our peoples. As they sealed their agreement, a flash of lightning split the toxic sky above them, followed by the rumble of thunder and the beginning of an acid rain shower. Neither leader flinched or sought shelter. A small but significant demonstration of the resilience they shared evolved on different worlds, but united by the common experience of thriving where others could barely survive. In the days that followed, the formal Earth-Vexus Defense Treaty was signed aboard the Vanguard, establishing a mutual protection pact and technology exchange program between the two worlds. Dr. Zhao and her research team remained on Vexus to continue studying the Ferroviti, while Earth engineers worked alongside Vexus scientists to incorporate the living metal into defensive systems designed to protect both planets. The Galactic Council, upon receiving Lara's report of the engagement, issued a formal protest against Earth's unilateral military action, but found themselves unable to counter the accomplished fact of the new alliance. Several Council species even quietly expressed relief that the Crawl expansion had been checked without requiring their direct involvement. As for the Crawl, they withdrew to their territory to reconsider their strategy, their prized dreadnought limping back to their shipyards for extensive repairs. Intercepted communications suggested they were both impressed and concerned by the effectiveness of Earth-Vexus cooperation, particularly the ability to counter their Ferroviti-enhanced shields. 3 weeks after the battle, with the situation on Vexus stabilizing and the Earth reinforcement fleet established in defensive positions throughout the system, Lara received new orders from Earth Command. The Vanguard was to remain as the flagship of the Earth contingent at Vexus, with Lara serving as the official representative to the Joint Defense Council. It seems we'll be neighbors for the foreseeable future, she told Commander Zil during their regular strategy meeting. I am pleased to hear it, Zil responded. Your presence has already brought significant benefits to my world. The environmental recovery proceeds faster than our most optimistic projections, and our people's health improves as the ferrovitae reserves begin to replenish. And the modified defensive technology is exceeding expectations, Lara added. The combination of Earth's technical innovations and Vexus's living metal creates systems more effective than either of us could develop alone. A perfect metaphor for our alliance, Zil observed. Separate, we were vulnerable. Together, we become something new, something stronger than the sum of its parts. As Lara looked out at the harsh, beautiful world of Vexus, she reflected on the unexpected path that had brought them here. What had begun as a covert mission to test weapons against a potential enemy had transformed into the foundation of a lasting partnership between worlds. The Council had sent humans to Vexus, thinking they were using one Deathworld species to fight their battle against another. Instead, they had inadvertently fostered an alliance that would reshape the power dynamics of the sector for generations to come. "To new beginnings," she said, raising a glass of the specialized water-based beverage the Vexus had developed to be safely consumed by both species. "And to proving that those who evolve in the harshest environments often develop the strongest bonds." Gilles raised their own glass in response, the living metal visible beneath their skin, pulsing with a vibrant glow that seemed to resonate with the similar conduits running through the walls around them. "To the alliance of the Deathworlders," they replied. "May the galaxy learn to respect what it once feared." Outside, another acid storm began to fall on the resilient world of Vexus. Its caustic rain no longer a threat, but simply another challenge to be overcome together.